Hey guys, how's it going? I hope you guys are all having a great day. So in today's video, I kind of wanted to talk to the beginner photographers who are trying to get into photography and you're just finding it a little bit difficult and you don't really know what to focus on. I just wanted to give you guys my 5 tips for beginners. I'm not redoing that. So my first tip for any beginner photographer is to photograph anything and everything every single day. Starting out in photography can be pretty confusing and pretty challenging. Learning what all the buttons do on your camera, learning how aperture affects your image, learning the exposure triangle, learning how light impacts your image. Why is my image not in focus? Why is it so bright? Why is it so dark? Everything just looks not properly exposed. What even is exposure? Like putting your camera in manual mode, what even is that? I was there, I've been there, it's a process, but trust me, it gets better. And the only way that gets better is by just taking pictures of everything and anything that's around you. Don't always just go on Instagram and see these amazing photographers who have been doing it for years, who just excel in what they're doing, and you're like, how come my images don't look like that? When they've been doing it for 4, 10, 20 years, and it's your first week with your camera. Your images are probably not gonna look like theirs. If they do, good on you. More than likely, they're not, and that's okay. But by taking pictures of everything around you and not worrying about the outcome, that's how you get better, and that's how you're gonna learn your camera, and that's how you're gonna learn just how your camera operates and just how to get better images, is just by practicing every single day. I remember when I was getting started in photography, I was just taking pictures of everything. I was taking pictures of my hats, of my pet cat. You guys know Blue by now. I was taking pictures of a globe. I was taking pictures of flowers, going outside, taking pictures of trees, going on hikes, taking pictures of waterfalls and rocks and leaves that were just falling on the ground. I was just taking pictures of everything. And slowly and surely, I was just trying different settings and trying to see what aperture was doing, how was it going to affect my image, and eventually over time, I got better. By practicing every single day and starting out in auto and just seeing how an image can turn out, and then putting my camera in aperture priority mode to play with depth of field, and then putting my camera in shutter priority to play with different motion and movement in images. Just practicing every single day is so important early on. That's one of the best pieces of advice that you're going to hear today, is just practice every single day. And your subject really doesn't matter. Just take pictures. Just take photos. Tip number 2 is investing in knowledge and not gear. Spend your time learning what the exposure triangle is, how aperture does affect your image, how having a lower aperture means you're gonna have more depth of field, where the background will be blurry but your subject will be sharp and clear, how a higher aperture number ensures that more of your image is gonna be in focus. Understand how lighting affects your image. Understand what overexposed and underexposed mean. Researching tips on composition. Investing your time in that knowledge and then taking it in practice and actually going out and photographing and practicing what you've learned, that is what's going to make you a better photographer. Not necessarily having a better camera and a better lens. Yes, a better camera and better lens can produce a higher quality image, but it's the photographer and your knowledge and practicing all of the things that you're learning and then putting it into action, that's what's gonna make you a better photographer. So if you're out there as a beginner, having an entry-level camera or even just using your cell phone, that is totally fine. I've taken hundreds and hundreds of images with my entry-level SL2, Canon SL2 camera, and I still use it to this day. There's nothing wrong with these cameras. The photographer makes the photographer, not the camera. So invest your time in knowledge. Tip number 3, it's okay to make mistakes. It's actually good for you. Now hear me out. When you get started in photography, more than likely, your first couple of images are gonna be underexposed or overexposed, or they're gonna misfocus completely, and you're gonna be frustrated and you're not gonna understand why. That's okay. That's all part of the process. And trust me, it still happens all the time. It's gonna happen when you're really good at photography in the future, and it happens when you're a beginner. It's just a part of photography. Sometimes you misfocus, sometimes you have the wrong settings. Mistakes happen, and that's okay. There will be times where you think you have everything set up properly, and then you look at the image and you just don't know why it didn't work out. Mistakes are bound to happen, and they're always going to happen. But the best part about them is that's how you learn. That's how you grow. You need to embrace the mistakes because they're going to happen in photography and they're going to happen in life. And how you rebound from those mistakes is how you correct those mistakes and you limit them in the future. It's constantly learning. Tip number 4 is gonna be learning composition. This one's kind of tough to explain without examples, so Curtis on the computer is gonna talk to you. Why are you still here? Go already, go. Oh my God. Oh, you're here, you made it. Oh God. All right, what did we have written down here? So yeah, composition is one of those things that, I don't know, I just need to like show you guys some examples. So I just pulled some up on my laptop here, and I'm just gonna kind of go through some of my images and discuss what I was thinking and what compositional tips I was using to help make my photo that much better or more pleasing to the eye. So let's just jump right in. So I have a bunch of photos that optimize the rule of thirds. So the rule of thirds, like, it's just you take your image and you make like a tic-tac-toe grid. And the rule of thirds can be like anywhere along those horizontal or vertical lines. And you just kind of, you put like the subject of your image in that spot. Here's an image of my friend's cat. And you can see that the cat is kind of just on like the right third of the page. I don't know, it just makes it like a little bit more interesting. Like the subject of your photo doesn't always have to just be like smack dab right in the middle. Yes, I have a bunch of photos like that, but I've also tried to use the rule of thirds as much as possible. So I'm just gonna try to find all those images here. Even with this image here of the Toronto skyline, I had the skyline there and I didn't want it like perfectly centered. I wanted a lot of the sky grading because there was like this beautiful crazy sunset going on, as you can tell. So I kind of broke it up into like thirds of the image. So I have like the bottom third is the water, the middle is the city skyline, and then the top is the sunset gradient. That's kind of how I looked at it, and I don't know, I just liked how this image turned out, so kind of still use the rule of thirds on that one. This one here of my friend in BC, British Columbia for you folks that don't know. Again, instead of just having her smack dab in the middle, I kind of put her on a third and then the trees on a third and then the mountains like behind her. It's almost like a layered photo is kind of what I saw when I looked at it. This one here of my buddy playing on the baseball team. Again, he's not perfectly centered. He's walking towards that right third. And I think it just kind of, I don't know, it adds like motion or just more pleasing to me instead of just having him smack dab in the center of this photo. I don't think would have looked as good as what I have here being on the right third. Even with this image here, like I love this image. I think it's one of my favorites I've ever taken. But instead of, again, just being smack dab right down the middle of this bridge, I wanted it to just be a totally different perspective. So I went right to the left and I looked back and I saw that the bridge was gonna be nicely shot going this way on my image, and I had a person running on this third. I look at this image and I really like it. I think it's a different perspective. I think it's fun. And this one here, this is probably one of my favorite street photography image that I've taken in a really long time. And it's kind of that same process when I was showing you that guy, when I was showing you the view of the Toronto skyline. Again, my whole thought process for this image was just putting those two people sitting there on the rocks having coffee. I just wanted them in the bottom of the image and then everything else to just be this beautiful sky that was happening. I absolutely love this photo. I don't know why. I just think it's a really good image. So yeah, kind of use that rule of thirds thing. So now I'm just gonna kind of scroll through these images and show you guys what technique I was thinking of or what I was going for. So with this image here, this is of a bridge in Vancouver. You can kind of see that I have these two black lines that kind of were meeting, and you can see that they're totally out of focus, but I was trying to frame up that bridge, so that was my thought process behind it. I was using this technique called framing, and it's where your subject is framed by other parts in the scene. I don't really know how else to describe it. I think these were like metal rods or plants. I think they were leaves, actually. I think they were leaves. Even this picture here, Same bridge that I showed you from earlier. Has the wire bars or wire railing going across it, whatever wire going across it. And I just tried to frame up these people on their stand-up paddle boards. Again, just trying to incorporate that concept of framing. This image here, I tried to frame the sunset in between these two trees. Like the sunset's there, but it's framed in between the trees. I don't know how else to describe it. This image here, I'm trying to incorporate framing and I'm trying to incorporate like shooting through something. So when you're shooting through something and you have depth in the foreground of your image, it can add so much punch to your image. So if you can, always try to be like shooting through something, whether it be like plants or like hold, if you don't have plants around you, but there's like some like dead vegetation, you can just like pick it up and like hold it in front of the lens and you can create this depth in your image that otherwise you wouldn't have. So yeah, just trying to create some depth in like the lower part of the image and just like shooting through something. This is another one here where my cousin had her newborn baby. This is her husband holding their newborn. So a cool shot that I like and what I see shoot like through the husband. So you can see him standing there holding the baby, but the baby's the one in focus and the husband's like out of focus. I just think it adds depth and like story to the image because you can tell that it's him and just he's holding his baby. He's just kind of squared up in between these panes of glass, and I tried to make it as even as possible and get his head right in between those wires there. I remember actually telling him, being like, I need you to scoot left like half a centimeter, and was just kind of bossing him around till I wanted him in that perfect spot, and that's the spot I got, and he kind of just framed up perfectly looking at the screen. And then I think the last kind of one that I want to touch on, I don't actually have a lot of images that explain this to the best, but I'm going to try my best. And we're going to talk about leading lines. So leading lines is when you have parts of your image that lead your eyes to the subject. So in this image here of the CN Tower, again, not like the best example, but when you look at like the bottom of this image, all these railroad tracks, they lead toward the CN Tower. It's kind of what I was going for. A little bit of framing involved as well, being perfectly placed in between a couple of buildings there and the construction going on. So yeah, just try to like lead the eye toward the CN Tower. So in composition, there's so many things that you can focus on. There's framing, rule of thirds, leading lines, foreground and depth, use of negative space, filling the frame so the whole frame of the image has something going on. There's so many different ways, and if you guys look up composition tips, that might just be the easiest way, but something that's really cool about composition is that once you kind of know these things and you practice them and you learn them, you can just go out there and break the rules. There's rules to photography, but then there also isn't, because you're the photographer and you're taking the images and you're creating what you want. So break the rules, take the images how you want to take them. Learn and invest in the knowledge and composition, but don't be locked down into just doing that specific thing for that specific composition. You can have fun with photography. It's your image, you're producing what you want, and that's what makes photography so amazing. And tip number 5, have fun with it. When you're getting into photography, you're gonna have mistakes, you're gonna be missing focus, all of your images might not be as good as what you see online. What you see online with photography and photographers, you're seeing probably every 1 in 1,000 images. You're seeing the best of the best of the best of their work. So don't compare yourself to them, and have fun with what you're doing. I love photography and I love talking about it, and I love getting my gear, and I love going outside and taking images and just being immersed in that process. Mistakes, missed photo opportunities, mishaps, they all happen, and I've just learned that it's part of photography. And if you're a beginner, you're gonna quickly realize that too. There are amazing people in photography, and the community is honestly so great. I've had the opportunity to meet a lot of other photographers who are business owners or hobbyists. The community is just great. I've been out taking sunset and sunrise photos, and there's like 10 of us photographers out, and we're all just chit-chatting and making jokes with each other, asking each other what gear we're using, what lens we're using, and just having fun conversations, and then actually getting the opportunity to meet people and talk about them and their life and who they are as a person. Photography has really opened the door for a lot of people to be in my life, and it's been amazing. Photography is great, and I will say that all the time, and you'll hear me say it all the time. I almost thought I wasn't wearing a mic this whole video. Photography is great. I love it. I love the people in it, and and I want to grow a community that wants to get into photography, or you're already in photography, and yeah, I just want to build a community that connects around this, just connects around photography and whatever it is. Photography is amazing and I love it, and I really hope that comes through on the camera. Yeah, I just enjoy it so much, and I'd love to have a community and help people get started in it and just build up that community and just try to get more people into photography, because it's the best. And I know I've said that before in previous videos, but truly it's been one of the best things to happen to me. I know this video was tailored for beginner photographers, but if you are a seasoned photographer, I hope that you were able to gain something out of it. I have a personal belief that you are never too old or you're never too good to learn anything. There's always learning opportunities every single day. You can learn something from anyone and anything. So yeah, we're just gonna wrap it up there, because I feel like I'm just having like word vomit, just spew at this point. So hope you guys all have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.